they can just go and check. So let us start. Sri, can we start now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Jyotish, can we start?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me introduce Sri Kumar Nair to you. Most of you, എല്ലാവർക്കും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സുപരിചിതനാണ്. നമ്മുടെ വടക്കാഞ്ചേരിക്കാരനാണ് ശ്രീകുമാർ. He is from Thrissur, Vadakkancheri, and he has represented India under 19 team in the World Cup in 1998. Thereafter, became the Kerala captain, and he still holds the record of the maiden 100 in Ranji Trophy by a Kerala cricketer. That was 306 runs not out in 2007. And he's now working with India Cements, coaching various categories there, looking after the CSK junior team also. And also he is a BCCI match referee, and he has got various postings and all. So let us welcome Sri Kumar Nair to this webinar. Thank you, Sri, for joining us. You can take over now.
Well, good morning, everyone. I first of all would like to thank Sports Exotica and my dear friend Raju for requesting and inviting me on this portal. To be very frank, I don't have much of experience in basically doing all these webinars and seminars. So I think Corona has started a new, what shall I say, a new development which has happened due to these Corona lockdown times. I hope English is fine, right? Or do you want me to speak in Malayalam? Malayalam will be slightly tough for me. I'll try my best to include Malayalam wherever little bit I can do.
Yeah, Sri, there are a couple of people from Tamil Nadu as well, but I think
English should be fine.
A little bit of Malayalam, but better to continue in English. But you can also mix it up.
Fine. If English is fine with everyone, it's most comfortable. I think it will be easier for me as well. First of all,
everyone can ask questions in Malayalam also.
That's okay. They can ask questions in Malayalam. I'll try to reply in English. That should not be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say that please follow what all protocols are there, which are given by all the state and central governments during these tough times, because we still see a lot of people doing a lot of silly things. So it's better that we maintain those protocols and be safe and stay and careful at home itself. Okay. So that's number one. Then coming to cricketing part, the seminar which Sports Exotica has requested me to do is basically about trying to touch the outline of cricket. That is about your how to set your goals. Then how do we go about our skill development. Then about the mindset of how the mindset should be for players, and how do we do our work preparation towards achieving these goals. And then finally, how do we go about the match mindset? So these are the topics which I'll briefly touch upon for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And then probably I think people will be more interested in asking questions there rather than me giving a lecture, which I am also not used to. So straight away, I'll hit the target. And see, cricket is a very multi-dimensional sport. And I was also an all-rounder in my playing days. So if you see today's cricket, it's become so competitive, unlike earlier days where you can be a very good batsman and you can be an average fielder or not be a bowler at all and still manage to play at international level. But today cricket is so competitive, so professional. It has gone to a totally different plane. So because of that, we have to be really excellent in all the three dimensions, that is batting, bowling and fielding. And if not possible, at least two we need to cover. That is the basic requirement. So for me, being an all-rounder, I think it was a boon. It was very easy for me, even though the stress levels and the effort which I need to put was actually much more than what a pure batsman or a pure bowler would do. Because me being a top-order batsman and a top left-arm spinner as well, I used to really stress that I have to be equally good in all the three departments, including my fielding. I always used to take fielding as a very big role model, because if you are fit, if you are physically and mentally fit, and you put that extra effort in fielding, that used to really rub on into batting and bowling. So I would say that we as sportsmen, all the cricketers who are there in this forum, they should definitely work on all three departments. If not possible, they should master try to master at least 2 departments, which will keep them in good stead so that the competitiveness is always maintained and they will grow in their cricket. Now comes the big part. How do I maintain this equality? Basically, the thumb rule is very simple. When the world goes to sleep, you start working. So you need to really put in those big yards of dedicated hard work, smart hard work. Smart hard work is I should know what I am, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and then I start working towards achieving my goals. Okay. So it was very important, and you need to really think in those lines so that you are able to compete at the highest levels. Then coming back, I should say it's not easy. It's definitely very, very tough. But I think when the world really puts you into one corner, when you go into pressure, is where I see an opportunity to thrive and to become more successful. So I will definitely request all the upcoming and budding cricketers here that you need to really focus on all 3 departments of the game. So we'll definitely discuss about how to go about the goal setting, how to go about the skill development in a small way. See, India being such a big country, cricket crazy country, out of 1.3 billion, hardly 20 players get to play for the country in a year. And it is very tough to sustain, number one, and it is even more tough to sustain at international level to become an accomplished international cricketer. So you can really understand how tough it is. But it is not something to be discouraged. It is something to be looking forward to. I always tell all my students that you need to really dream big, because unless and until I start dreaming myself becoming an international cricketer, where is the question of even me looking at what I want to achieve? So the goal setting, if we start, the first most important thing, if you come into goal setting, the goals are like the ultimate goal, which I'm saying is becoming a very successful international cricketer. That is the first goal, right? Or that's the ultimate goal. Then if I bring it down, I can definitely shorten it to my small term goals. That is, I can say weekly goals, or maybe a fortnight goals, or monthly goals. Then I can have an intermediate goals. Then if I break it down into fragments, it is at least it can be broken down into 3 or 4 parts. So if I start from the first basic, this I'm speaking for someone who's playing at say under 16 and under 14s and under 19s at college level, or who are trying to go into district teams. So your first goal is to really be an excellent cricketer at your college level teams. That is the first goal. So then only comes my district team. How do I get into the district team? Then how do I go into my zone teams? Then try to break it into the state camp team. That is maybe an under 19, an under 22, under 16, all age categories. There are so many age categories in India. So that is number one. This is the first goal, right? From graduating from the school team to the college team, and then to district, zone, and the state camp. So we need to understand one thing: to graduate from point A to point B, I need to become a champion cricketer at point A. The biggest problem which I've seen with people is they want to jump from first stage to straight away to the final stage, which is impossible, which is never going to happen. And what happens is they start losing interest in the game, because they set goals which are so high, they are never able to achieve them. So once that happens, then it becomes very problematic, and it is very tough to motivate ourselves to try to achieve. So I'll always say that break down your goals and keep goals which can be achieved, though not easily, but it should definitely be in my reach. So mantra is to become a champion player at whichever age category. So imagine I studied in a college called Sri Kerala Orma SKVC Thrissur. So the first goal for me is to first get into my college team and become the #1 player, the champion player for my college team, so that my transition from college to the district team is much smoother. Then same, it applies from district to zone, zone to state camp, and then become a champion player at state level, then go into the zone team. That's how the progress should be. And the goals have to be set in such a manner that they are definitely achievable, but they should be just out of our reach. Otherwise, that thrill and excitement will not remain there. So it will just become vague. We will not be able to even think that it is possible for us. So if you ask me for an example, say I am a college cricketer, like most of us, most of the participants in this group are. Say imagine you are scoring around 350 runs in say 10 matches for your college team. and I am going to set my goal for the next season, I cannot be saying that I'm going to score 1,000 runs next season, which is not going to happen. But from 350, if I want to set a goal which is say around 10 matches, I want to score 500 runs, that is definitely possible. So the increase should be while setting goals should be 15 to 20%, which is definitely achievable. And it is the same for batsmen or bowlers all put together. Then we need to start, once we start putting goals like this, say goals for my college team, my state team, and as an up how you progress in your cricket. Once the goals are set, then comes your part of preparing. How do I prepare for these goals? Because see, setting goals is one thing. After that, how do I go about it? How do I work on my skills? We need to first understand and adapt to our own cricketing strengths. That is very, very important. Unless and until I understand my own cricket, no one will be able to help, not even your coaches. So I always teach my kids, whoever I've been coaching, you need to learn how to coach yourself. We need to start learning about ourselves first, where I stand at particular day, where I stand at particular moment. Then only I will know what I want to achieve, what I want to go further. And I always tell all my students to dream, to visualize achieving those dreams, because that is something which will give you the energy to keep trying again and again and again. So once I set all my goals, I need to really start collecting all data which are required. Because see, it's a team sport, it's a competitive sport. You know whom you're going to play. Nowadays, you have so much of technology which is in place, right? Every data is available. If you click any website, cricketing scoring website or any other websites with associations, you get everything which is there available. It was not like this when I started at your age, probably at 18 and 19. There were not even mobile phones. So how do I used to do? We used to collect data through our sources, through friends who used to play for other states. But today, you don't need anyone's support. You can do it on your own. So you need to learn how to collect the data so that you can start your preparation before the season itself starts. Because cricket season in India or even in Kerala, if you see, is close to 10 months. You only have 2 months time for you to again start thinking what you did in the last season and what I want to do in the next season. So once you start collecting data about which all teams I'm going to say, imagine I'm studying in a college in Cochin and I come under MG University. My target is to break into the inter-university tournament. I want to represent MG University. I should know which all teams come under MG University first, which are the main teams, what is the strength of my team, what is my strength, how do I go about planning, how many matches I'm going to play, which are if I am a pure batsman, which are the good bowlers in all my opposition teams. I need to collect all this data before the season starts. And you need to monitor this data so that your preparation starts from, say, imagine in Kerala, if you see the cricket starts somewhere around April, May itself. Hardly March and April, use the 2 months you will get for all collection of data, for your goal setting, for planning, for preparation, which has to be used throughout the next 10 months. So your planning preparation should start right from the day the season ends. You take 10 days off, doing only training, but not fully stop cricket, because otherwise it will be very tough for you to come back. So once you start collecting this data by March, April, you're already getting psychologically into the system of becoming a professional cricketer by April end. You would have already collected everything what is required for you, which is going to be beneficial to your cricket, say as a batsman or as a bowler, which you're going to use in your next 10 months of professional cricket. So once I collect all my data, I start, okay, now where do I need to really work? That comes the next part, right? Now, which all, like if I am a pure, say I'm a left arm fast bowler, I am an in-swinging bowler. Now I need to find out, yeah, I have a very good natural in-swing. Now I need to work on improving my armory. I need to work on I'm not good at my outswing. So can I try to do that? How much time will I take? Do I need to improve on my bouncers? Do I need to learn a slower one, back of the hand slower one? If you break down your cricket into say 10 years, imagine an 18-year-old who's participating here. If you can improve your cricket even by 5%, 5% itself is quite big. I will say 2 to 3%. If you can improve your cricket every year by 2 to 3%, just see where you will be at the end of 10 years. You will have improved your game by 30%. Isn't it? 30% improvement in your cricket I can assure you, you will definitely end up playing for the country. Because this, if you look at 30%, it's a big change. But if I'm trying to improve only 2 to 3% per year, I think that is definitely achievable. And I think we need to strive hard. The biggest mistake, that's what I'm coming up to, is smart hard work. The biggest mistake with all cricketers, if you see at local level and other up to one certain level, is we only do the same thing again and again and again. If I go to, even today, when I go to certain nets and certain practice sessions, the practice session is same throughout. Everyone comes, does a normal warm up, does a normal net session, does a normal fielding session, and that's it. So what are we doing? What is the quality time I'm actually spending in a 3-hour session? If I scientifically go deep into it, I'm hardly doing 10 minutes and 15 minutes of warm up. My batting is another 10 to 15 minutes, because that's the maximum you get when you're doing a team practice. Maximum of 20 minutes of bowling. And if I break down my personal fielding, it will be maximum of 10 to 15 minutes. So hardly I'm spending is close to 45 to 50 minutes. And I'm saying that I'm practicing 3 hours daily minimum. So that is not at all going to help me in improving my cricket. So we need to, once I want to use my database and want to really understand what all things I want to improve, I can specifically put all my attention towards that. Like imagine now I'm playing, I want to improve on my cut shot. I'm not good at playing a cut shot. Now, once I know that I need to work on my cut shot, I'm going to put 1.5 hours, 2 hours daily into cut shot, rather than just going and practicing for 2 hours. So practicing 2 hours in improving one skill is 10 times better than just doing a practice of 2 hours. That's what I mean by smart work. That is what my idea of smart work is. I need to understand where I am good at, which thing I want to be good at the end of the season. So my focus will be, I'll put all my attention more towards improving that skill set, as well as at the same time, what I am good at, I need to keep sharpening that skill, isn't it? So that's what I mean by sharpening and being a smart cricketer. Then match mindset, right? Match mindset is something, I will say, I've heard, I can tell you about an example is our current Indian team coach, Mr. Ravi Shastri, right? I still remember he is saying somewhere where cricket is close to 90-95% is above your shoulder and only 5% below the shoulder. What he exactly means is this is a very mental makeup game. So if your mindset is good, if you're able to adapt to scenarios, you will definitely be a more successful cricketer. He's a living example. He's someone who batted at number 11 and then went on to score a double hundred in Australia and Test cricket. So you can make out the difference. Someone being a tail-ender and going on to score a double hundred at Test level in Australia in those days, and becoming an opening batsman, right? So Ravi Shastri, I still remember that quote from him. I think it's long back. I don't know when he had done that. So I wish all the participants here the very best of luck in your cricket. And so these are small insights which I wanted to give to you people, how to go about setting your goals. And one more thing I would like to add is any skill that you want to work, you really need to put in those hard yards, right? For imagine, say that's the basic time which I say, imagine I want to work on my cover drive. It will take close to 6 months to master that art. I won't say perfection. I want you to be excellent in that, right? Perfection is something which may not happen because we are dependent on certain things for that skill to become number one, right? But we can definitely excel in that. We can be really good at it. I can really work hard to come into a position where if given a scenario, I'll be able to excel in that particular shot, right? So what I was taught probably during my coaching days, I still remember, and I have also done a small practical thing where I've tried to work with my students. I found out that master a skill, it takes close to around 15,000 balls. So you can imagine how much hard work is required to improve and excel in one particular skill that you want to work, whether it being an outswing, in swing, whether you want to work on your cut shot, or whether you want to work on your drives or a hook shot. So that much patience is required for you to really excel in that. So you need to have that patience. You need to have that self-belief. And coming to self-belief, I think even recent times you would have seen in the newspaper where one of the greatest players from Kerala, S. Srishant, he's now 37, 38, if I'm not wrong. And he's come out and given a statement that he wants to play the next World Cup. So just imagine what belief he has in his ability, right? You generally don't see a cricketer at 36 and 37 who makes a statement like that, right? You will all start laughing. But you should understand the positive part, the mindset of that gentleman, right? He has done so much for Kerala cricket. He has played for India. He's an asset to Kerala cricket. But he's not been in cricketing circle for 8 to 10 years. And still, now that he sees that there is an opportunity, he has made that statement, which gives you the mental makeup of that guy, right? So I really respect, that's an example which I thought I should share with you, saying about the mindset. So these are the few things which I thought you people can use in your cricketing, what shall I say, preparation. And I wish all the best to all of you in your future cricketing endeavors. So that's it from my side. I'll be more than happy to answer any queries and questions which you guys want to shoot at me. Yeah, Raju, back to you.
Sri, shall I ask you one thing? How was you were in Sri Kerala Varma College, right? So how was your first step going ahead to the zone matches and going towards university matches and all? What was your stepping stone over there? Hope you understand.
I played actually my junior cricket in Nagpur. I don't know, many of you may not be aware of that. So I had already represented state at that time. And when I came to Kerala Varma College, I think the influence of ND Subramaniam sir, NDS, he's fondly called as NDS in cricketing circles. Everyone knows him. He's no more now. A very strict and thoroughly dedicated gentleman. So because of him, probably for me, the transition was very smooth. So at college level, you basically don't have much facilities, right? We used to roll the wickets for ourselves. We are supposed to pick our mats or all equipments. Everything has to be done by the player itself. So there was no point. We understood one thing, that there's no point in cribbing at things which I don't have. He taught us something, that whatever facility is there, we need to learn to adapt and we need to excel from there. So I think that lesson which he taught at the first place helped me, because it was quite tough, because I played in a place where there was a lot of facility in Nagpur. I used to and I had already played state. So when I suddenly came, and my transition to Kerala was very tough, because I was staying in a remote village, not even Vadakanjiri. It's a place called Chelakara, which is around 35-40 kilometers from Trichur. So my days were quite tough at that time. But NDS sir will not give me one minute of discount. He says, you are the same for me like other teammates. So if you want to play cricket, you have to live with it. My day used to start at somewhere around 4:30 in the morning, 4:30 or 5. And it used to end only at 11 o'clock when I used to reach back home. So it made me mentally tougher without any other help from other guys. It was a natural habitat, like how we say for a Mumbai cricketer, no? There is a saying in cricketing circles that Mumbai cricketers are always khadus. Khadus is the term which is used. Khadus means very sticky sort of guys. They never give up. So that probably happened to be naturally after coming to Kerala. So that helped in my cricket.
Okay, thank you. So other participants, they can ask. Sri.
You can raise your name in chat, so selected people can ask questions, because all the questions can't be answered within the limited time schedule. So with all respect, I invite Edwin sir to ask questions or have a discussion with Sri Kumar.
Hi, Sri.
Hello, sir.
Very well explained. I just want to ask you one thing. You have been the coach of Kerala team. Do you monitor those boys now? And do you think that they have improved, and whether they are going up or down?
I've been fortunate enough to coach a very young batch. You might be remembering, because you were also there when I was there with under 23 team. But I had a very good time when I coached the under-19 Kerala team, because as most people who were there in cricketing circle will remember, that was basically an under-16 team which was drafted as an under-19 team. And I'm very happy that majority of those players have actually graduated well. I still have contact with many of them. To name a few, I will say Anand Joseph was one, Akshay Casey is there, then Sijomon Joseph is there, Dariel Ferrario is there, Rohan Kundamal, and many others. So there are at least 8 to 10 cricketers who are in constant touch with me. I don't disturb them because the last 4 years I have not been involved with them. But whenever they have any issues, and I'm very happy that they still feel that my expertise can be useful for them in their cricket. For example, last year, not even last year, I think, yeah, last season under 23 match, Anand Krishnan, whether if you remember him, a guy from Malappuram, very stylish left-hand opening bat. I was very, I had very high hopes for that kid, but he has not actually done justice to his potential. So he had called me. He was with me for at least couple of weeks on call, daily basis, and he was very worried about his cricket. And little bit of inputs, and from my side, when I gave him motivation, couple of innings, he got 100 after that. Not that I actually made him score hundreds. It was just that I had to tap that positivity into him, because negativity had cropped inside, and he was losing faith in his ability. It was just that I had to instill that positive belief into him more than anything technical. It is just one of the examples. So then likewise, Sijomon Joseph, left arm spinner, and he's been doing well in Kerala circles. He keeps in constant touch with me. Like that, Rohan Kundamal keeps in constant touch. So yeah, for answering your question, there are 7 to 8 cricketers who still are in constant touch, and whenever they feel that they need any small adjustments and all, we have a discussion, healthy discussion over that. Even though I'm not allowed to coach the teams.
Nice to see that you still motivate the players. And I hope that Kerala is going in the right path now.
Definitely, you have a very good bunch of young cricketers. There's no doubt about it. I think it's only the mindset of the players which has to change, and they need to understand that we are also as good as the other state players, and we need to start dreaming about winning tournaments. I think it's high time that we win tournaments rather than just being participative teams. I as a sportsman, I used to hate losing matches, to be very frank, even though we keep on saying that winning is not everything, but at the end of the day, I am a very bad loser. I cannot digest that. I have a lot of troubles losing matches. So I think I've tried my best to imbibe those qualities in these cricketers. You also would have seen that I used to be very tough. Even though they used to shout at me and they used to crib at me, I still didn't care, because for me, I knew that what I'm doing is for their betterment. So they used to call me Hitler at times, but I think it was always for their benefit. I've always been there who was someone who has wielded the stick, but at the same time, I've always been there as a big brother, as a fatherly figure to them.
Okay, thank you, Sri, and thanks to Jyotish and Raju, Sports Exotica, for organizing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Edwin sir. Next, Mazhar can ask question.
Hello, Mazhar.
Hi, Sri. It's really great to hear you, and you are one of the great cricketers Kerala ever produced. So I have a couple of questions for you. The question number 1, how you see the transition from player to coach? And number 2, and you have been doing really great job in coaching also. So why you switch from coaching to match referee?
It's a very tricky question, especially the second one. To be very frank, transition from player to coach was very easy. Because see, me being in professional cricketing setup in Chennai for last 20-25 years. So before even me stopping playing Ranji Trophy, I was already into the role of a coach. Okay. Maybe not an official BCCI coach, but see, I've been managing cricket teams for last at least, if not, should be at least 15 years. Even when I was the captain of the team, I was doing the admin part and managing, coaching, right from setting a team to running a team. So that experience has always helped me. So for me, transition from player to coach was not difficult. To be very frank, I wouldn't want to leave my coaching job and become a match referee. It was just because of circumstances and my family commitments, just that I had to move. I seriously feel coaching is as thrilling as being a player.
Okay.
Thank you, Mazhar.
Thank you.
Ajit has a question. Sri, can you please explain the challenges you faced from under-19 cricket to first-class cricket, and how did you adapt? That is a question from Sajid Saket.
In my case, actually, I won't say that I have struggled a lot for my transition from under-19 to Ranji Trophy or first-class cricket, because I still remember, I think the year I played World Cup, before playing the World Cup itself, I had made my Ranji Trophy debut. But there are a lot of players whom I know who have a tough time transitioning from under-19 to senior cricket or first-class cricket. I'll tell you the reasons for that. See, playing in India, if you see, under-19 is the pinnacle of your climbing the ladder, right? So we need to be really professionally good by the time we are 17 and 18. That is the golden period in Indian cricket. Someone has to be a professionally acclaimed cricketer by the end of 18 to 20 years. I won't say it is impossible after that. No, I don't believe in that concept. Age is only a number. But our cricketing setup is such that if you can break into the senior side by 18 to 20, your chances of becoming a successful cricketer is more. The simple reason is you get more opportunities. Rather than someone who breaks in at a Ranji Trophy team at the age of 30, 25 or 26, his lifespan is going to be shorter. There is more pressure on him to perform. He may not get couple of more opportunities than what an under-19 cricketer will get. So my personal case, I was fortunate enough that I broke in at the age of 18 itself. So I was lucky that I got few more chances, extra chances than other cricket players who were breaking into the team at 23 and 24. For example, a player from Paravur, say Sanju, who broke into the Ranji Trophy side quite late. So he would not have got that many opportunities like how much I would have got. So that is the basic difference. So it is very important that by I am playing at under-19 level, I should try to work and be into one space where I can break into senior cricket by the age of 19. That will really put a player into a very good, advantageous position. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Now, Deepak CM will have a short discussion, not like a question and answer session, but have a short discussion with you. Deepak and Vipin Lal also there.
Hello all. Thank you, Jyotish. Hey, Sri.
How are you, Deeps?
Yeah, Jyotish is actually mistaken. I need to ask you a question also.
I think you could have called me over phone and asked me rather than putting me in trouble here.
No, I want everybody to listen to it. In fact, I've been listening to you, and one thing I heard was you talking about Srishant, about his determination. So, but for me, I've seen you much before that. So, for me, you were one of the most determined cricketers. And I've seen you go into a match, come out of a match. One thing I want you to discuss with us is how you used to prepare on the day before the match. Okay, that is two things. One, how you used to prepare when you were doing well, and how you were preparing when you were not doing well. Is there any difference, or were both the same?
Yeah, I think it's a very valid question. Thanks for asking this question. Your preparation, which you first, I'll answer the first part about my preparation for a particular match. There was a time when I think I broke into the Ranji Trophy at 18, right? And till me reaching age 22, I was still not clear how I'm going to go about my cricket. Because my thinking about cricket was hard work, and hard work. But it was never in one channel. There were not many people who were able to guide me into it. So I was getting more frustrated when I was not performing. That is performing to my liking. I would have been performing up to the Kerala standards or maybe my company standards. But my personal standard, my goals which I was setting, I was not able to achieve them. The basic reason was I was not working hard in the proper direction. Then over an encounter with a player called S. Sharath, I think most of you know him. He's a legend in Indian cricket. It is just unfortunate that he couldn't play for the country. Through him, I understood one very valid thing, and that I have been trying to do since that time. That is, the preparation for me was not previous day. The preparation for me started in June. I'll tell you how. Because after age 22, 23, if you see my career also, I've seen my performances were much better after that. The basic reason is my preparation started in June. What I mean by that is, our cricketing cycle is such, because I was playing in Chennai at that time. Season used to end only by May. So I used to get May end little bit. I used to take an off. June I used to start my training again, and July again the league starts in Chennai, or maybe July, mid-July. So I used to get only that 1.5 months. So I started sitting and started making notes of whom all I have to go, whom all I'm going to play, right from my club cricket to district cricket. Because see, I have to first fulfill the requirements of my company where I'm working, because they have given me employment to play cricket, right? Second is my state cricket. So I need to start thinking from district. I cannot say and take my place for granted in my Kerala team. So I used to start planning for district, and I used to always see to it that we win against Ernakulam, from where Deepak is. Right? So that was a big challenge, and people in Trichur always had that rivalry with Ernakulam, right? So I used to make it a point that if I am playing, we should always try to win against Ernakulam, because if you see Kerala cricket at that time, there used to be at least 15-20 cricketers who would have played state for that particular year itself from Ernakulam. So they used to be the best district. So to beat Ernakulam used to be the biggest target. So I used to prepare for that. I used to even monitor the players who used to play for Trichur. So now I can say that because I've stopped playing cricket. Those times I've never revealed these things to anyone. That is competitive secrecy. So this is how my preparation is. It never used to be previous day. It used to be before the season. Yes, as the tournament used to start, I used to start bringing it at the micro level. This was the bigger picture. I used to work on what my goals and plans should be. I used to start getting details from other states as well. That's the reason probably I have quite a few friends in other state teams who have played cricket with me. Then coming back to micro level, once the tournament starts, I used to analyze what my form is and how I need to go about. Because see, playing a tournament of duration of 2 months, to maintain your form, it's not easy. We have to see to it that as a player that we don't peak too quickly, or we don't go into a very bad form phase where it becomes really tough. Then the pressure starts to build upon you. So I used to work slightly more methodically after maybe I was 22 and 23. What was the second question, Deepak? I forgot. That's the first part.
See, it's basically how you prepare. The physical thing is there, the mental thing is there for the season. But once the tournament starts, and see, when if say you are going to play in a opposition, say Tamil Nadu or Mumbai, so you are not in a good form. So what would be the mindset? What would you think on the previous night?
I used to actually do as a coach. Now we always now what we have started is, if you see the previous day session has all become match preparation and personal time. But for me, in my cricket personally, I used to do the exact opposite. I don't know. That used to give me energy. I used to work double. Previous day of the match, where everyone starts taking a break, everyone wants to conserve their energy for the next 4-day match, basically a multi-day game. I used to do the other way around. I don't know, but that never made me tired. So I used to treat it like a 5-day match. So even before when the match starts, I would already be into the zone. Even though whether I'm in form or not form, I never doubted my ability. I think probably that is one quality which I've tried to maintain, which has helped me even when I'm performing or even when I'm not performing. And coming to your part where you said that when you're not in form, I used to never have a doubt to go back to the drawing board. I used to really put in those hard hours. But if you see today's cricket, where we are saying that we need to relax, right? Maybe in my personal case, I used to do the other way around. Yeah, Deepak.
Yeah, thank you, Sri. That's what I wanted to know.
Next, Vipin Lal Manikyot is with us. Vipin Lal will have a short discussion with you.
Hi, Sri. Good afternoon to everyone, every viewers, and good afternoon, Sports Sortica team of Jyotish and Raju. Sri Bhai, I wanted to ask you something not related to the physicalities of cricket, but regarding the mental aspect, because being played with you for quite a while, under 19, under 22, and under 25, I believe the cricketer who was the most mentally tough at that time was Srikumar Nair, beyond a doubt. So as a coach, when you step into this under 23 side, what do you advise players and how do you advise cricketers to take failure and success?
Okay.
How did you handle yourself as a player? Because success can take you sky high, like I'm the king, and the failure part shouldn't be steeping you too low. How do you strike right balance? And did you have any role models that you shared with in your Kerala Ranji Trophy side?
Okay, fine. Yeah, very, very interesting question, Vipin. Hope you are safe there in Chennai. Okay,
Yes.
and see, if when I took coaching for Kerala, I think first tournament that I did, we became champions. So that was only a one-day tournament of 15 days. That was under 23 South Zone Ramachandra Rao Trophy. But the next year when I took under 19 team, we basically had an under 16 team. And I still remember first two games we lost outright and innings defeat. And there was hell lot of hue and cry. And there was a lot of pressure on not only on me and the players. What sort of cricket is being happening? Kerala is spending so much of money. Where are the results? The first thing I did was I took the team to we were actually in Tellicherry, and both the teams against whom we lost, there were actually a lot of moments where we should actually would have won the game, but because we could not seize them at the end of the match, it looked like we didn't know how to play cricket. But the boys were so naive; they were not at all experienced, so they were mentally very down. So the first thing was for me as a coach, the challenge was to bring them back mentally into the game. So what I did was I stopped the practice because we had really prepared well. No one knows about this. People in Tellicherry would have seen. Because I knew that this team was not ready. The practice sessions used to start at 6 o'clock in the morning and it used to end only by 6 o'clock in the evening. It was literally military regime, and those kids were doing this for the first time. And I was there with them. We used to have match simulations. We used to have center wicket practice, whatnot. We used to have training, swimming, everything. And I never used to leave these guys from morning 6 till evening 6. Probably that I learned through one of our coaches who did for Ranji Trophy called Vedam Hariharan. He started this culture and I used that as a tool when I started coaching these under 19 boys. So initially they were reluctant. There were a lot of complaints. A lot of guys were feeling unfit. I said, I don't bother about that. And I had taken a free hand from KCA. I had told them, I will give you results. I can assure you it will never go waste. So after losing those two games, there was a hell lot of pressure. They wanted to change the team. They wanted to remove the X number of players without even seeing what has gone. So it was very tough. So coming back to players, what I did is I took a breather. I took them to Mulpilangad beach. There is in Tellicherry, and we started working on team bonding. I tried to remove the negativity from all their players' mindset. I tried to bring in positive, what shall I say, positive memories into them when they were doing well at under 14 level and under 16 level when they did really well. So the idea was to create an atmosphere where they will have more self-belief and keep working hard or harder. So we never went back. We took a breather for 2 days and we came back really harder. And I don't know how many of you have followed. We won next 3 games, innings defeat, and we won the next game against Karnataka. We lost the second game. I will never forget this. We lost the second game against Bengal at Talasheri. I think in the second day we lost it by second or third day lunch. We lost it by innings and 400 runs. So you can imagine how lowly the players would have been feeling. And then we went to Mysore and really had a tough time. And we had given a lead of 170 runs. From there, we defeated them and we won the match against Karnataka. And there was no looking back after that. I think that game was the trigger point. They were thinking that I'm going to shout at them. But I went the other way around and started motivating them. Yes, I was harsh on them, but still I saw to it that we are one family and whatever discussions we had were always within that family. Information was never leaked outside. Okay. And that bunch really responded well. And once they won that game against Karnataka, I'm not joking, that bunch of cricketers till today have gone higher and higher. That one particular inning has changed the whole mindset of that one particular set of cricketers. And I can proudly say that out of that, around 7 and 8 are there in the Ranji Trophy team today. And that is evident in their performances. 3 of them have gone on to play for India under 19. And 5 or 6 of them are there in the current Ranji Trophy team. So that one incident, they would have forgotten it. I will never forget it because that changed the mindset of the cricketers. And other thing, how to handle failure. I think the best person to answer that is Rahul Dravid. Because I still remember a tweet from Rahul where he has mentioned about he has played around 700 innings and he has failed in around 450 innings. and we call him the wall, right? He is called the wall of Indian cricket. And if you see his success percentage is hardly 30 to 40%. I always use this quote, right? So if you know how to face your failures, you will never be in trouble, because in life, that is the beauty of this game, right? This is equal to our lives, right? There are more failures than success, but because the success gives us that extra energy, we are able to cover up for whatever failures are there. So that's the thing. How I discuss with my team, I always tell them, see, it's a team sport, right? There are 16 people. Even the guys who are not playing the match, if they are not positive enough, they are going to rub negative energy into the team. So for me, not only the 11, the substitutes also are as important, because if the substitutes are good, the players who are playing in the 11, they will always be on their toes. They will always be looking to improve their cricket. Then only a healthy team can be built. We cannot rely on 3 or 4 individuals in any team to become a successful unit. You don't need 11 champion players. I can assure you that we need 11 guys. We need 16 guys who are willing to work for the cause of the team. This is a team sport. This is not individual sport. So I always try to imbibe a quality of teamwork. That is very important for any team to excel. You don't need 11 champion players. If you take examples of teams which have had great players, very few teams have been able to maintain that championship status. If you see the 1983 World Cup team of India, they were not a great team at that time, but it was good unity among them. And they also didn't have self-belief when they started. It was a vacation for them. But slowly, once they started winning, and once they started getting that belief, everything changed. And I think that is the binding stone. And that thing was taken forward by Saurav Ganguly. If you remember, when Greg Chappell came and there were a lot of issues and a young bunch came, right, from Dhoni to Yuvraj to then Kaif, Sehwag, and all of them suddenly became champion players. And once Gary Kirsten took over, it just changed the whole thing, right? So this is important, that we need to, embrace failure. We cannot run away from failure, because failure is going to be the majority. Success is going to be lesser part. But if I start learning how to embrace my failures, definitely success is easier to manage. That is one. Then coming back to Kerala team, within which you asked, whom I used to take as role model, I think it's none other than Anantha Padmanabhan, right? I think he's one gentleman who was the epitome of being determined, hard work, and I've learned a lot from him, because I've spent a lot of my time playing cricket with him. How he used to prepare, how he used to work hard, and so and so. And in world cricket, I have always idolized Steve Waugh. I've always tried to copy Steve Waugh, because I always felt that he was not as talented as Sachin Tendulkar, but he was so dominant in world cricket for more than 2 decades. So that's it, Bipin. I think I would have answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you. There are 2 questions. One is from Sadeep.
Thank you very much.
Sadeep asking, how should we schedule our training for season? Can you give us a brief sketch of scheduling it?
What scheduling is he actually asking? I didn't understand your question. Can I come again?
How should we schedule our training for the season? Can you give us a brief sketch of scheduling it? How you plan your training?
See, that's going to be a very tough question, because individual to individual, it is going to vary. Right? So scheduling is basically your physical ability. Because if you see today's cricket, physical fitness plays a very important part. It is unlike 20 years back, where you can survive with skill. If you see, the most fittest person in Indian cricket or even world cricket is Virat Kohli. So he has changed the whole culture. So definitely physical fitness comes into part. That's number one. But I will say, if physical fitness is 10 marks, it is for skill also, it has to be 10 marks. It is equal or better than physical fitness, because I am not trying to be physically fit to do something else. It is for playing cricket. So cricket is going to benefit from physical fitness. It should not be the other way around, that I practice cricket to become physically fit. So we have to get it very clearly, because in today's cricket, I find a lot of people have this feeling that if I have six-pack and have lean mass, fat and all those things, I can become a successful cricketer. No, you're totally mistaken. You need to be as good as in your skill, as in your physical fitness, as in your mental makeup, because mental makeup is going to be as important. We really neglect in India. If you see, we really neglect our physical and mental. I think Virat has changed that culture, and that is evident in the cricketing success of Indian cricket team in the last 3-4 years. Everyone was laughing when he said that if you are not fit, we are not going to pick you into Indian team. But now that whole culture has changed. I think that we need to imbibe that in all things, in all the state teams. It should be in your scheduling as well. So you need to work on your physical fitness. You need to put time. You need to meet your trainers. You need to first assess where I am today and where I want to be at the end of the season. So your physical part, even mental part, I will say mental part is we don't train our minds. That is another neglected area. I think I was fortunate enough to be associated with few gentlemen who used to help me train my mind. I used to do a lot of visualization techniques. I used to work on improving the brain activating part, in the sense playing a lot of puzzles, a lot of online games, not the PUBGs and other games. I'm not saying that. Please don't mistake me. A lot of things which you are going to activate. I can tell you a simple example. I used to write with, I am a left-hander. I used to write with my right hand. The simple reason was there are a lot, the people who used to help me tell me that there are two parts of our brain. This is a scientific thing. We generally don't activate the other part of our brain. So once you start doing thing with your non-dominant hand, it actually activates that part of the brain, and that really helps you in the long run. I used to try to work on exercises which used to really work on my subconscious part, not on the conscious part, the subconscious which sits behind. Because if you see, imagine you're batting in a pressure situation, we keep chatting to ourselves. The conscious part says, no, this guy is trying to say, imagine he has kept a bouncer trap for me on the leg side. The subconscious part says, no, you have to duck the ball. The conscious part says, no, hit it for 4. There will be a conflict going in our brain. It's a mind, subconscious and conscious. To balance that is these techniques used to help me. So mentally, physically, and cricketing skill-wise, I think skill-wise, you need to really plan what I am good at, what I need to improve, and whether I'll be able to achieve that. That also is very important, because if I'm not sure whether I can achieve that, we are going at a direction where we don't know whether we'll even reach the goal. That will make you mentally more depressed. So we need to understand where I am at point A, whether I'll be able to reach point B, and then started working to that. So schedules, it is very tough to put a schedule here, but this is how the vague outline it will be. Yeah.
Thank you. There is an interesting question from our dear friend Pratish Haridas, who is also a coach. Pratish is asking, please share your experience as a left-arm bowler to bowl towards left-hand batsmen. Because Pratish, I know Pratish is also a right-hander. All the right-handers have a feeling that how this left-hander is bowling to a left-hander.
In normal parlance, hello Pratish, first of all, hi. It's been a long time since I've spoken to you. I can only see him in Facebook, very active, right from his coaching till his playing shots, playing cover drives and getting hundreds. So coming back to your question, yeah, it's in cricketing parlance, we always say a right-hander bowling to a right-arm off-spinner bowling to a right-hand batsman it's like tea cake. It's like easy, it's very easy, right? Same thing when a left-arm off-spinner bowls to a left-hand batsman. I personally, when I used to bat, I have never had trouble playing a left-arm spinner. But in bowling, right from my younger day, I have always enjoyed bowling to left-handers. Because I don't know, I seriously don't know the science behind it. Actually speaking, as a batsman, when I bat left-arm spinners, I've never had trouble. And even though I would have got out to them few times, but those will be where situations where I've taken risk. So bowling to a left-arm batsman, I've always enjoyed, because being a spinner, rather than getting help from the surface when I'm bowling to a right-hand batsman, I will use the rough more when I'm bowling to a left-hand batsman. Because accuracy was my forte, that was my strength as a bowler. I was able to deliver very accurately in the rough. And that's probably one of the reasons I've got more wickets of left-hand batsman than right-hand batsman. Even my first Ranji Trophy 5-wicket haul, all 5 wickets of Tamil Nadu players are left-hand batsmen. So I've never had trouble bowling to them, even though while batting I've always enjoyed.
Thank you. So we are wrapping up this session. And so you have spoke about maintaining better standards in all the 3 departments of the game: goal setting, skill development, break down the goals to long-term, mid-term, and intermediate goals, and again telling the people that there is no easy game. It's only hard work pays. And smart work is not just leaving the hard work to other side, but doing hard work in a different way.
Exactly.
And instilling positivity in youngsters is main area in coaching. That it's not the game that people are losing, because their mind is losing because of various other aspects of the game. And preparing the goals months back before the season.
Exactly.
Selecting
That
the
is the key.
college itself. Please.
That is the key. Yes, setting your goals has to be much in advance. I think that really helps.
Correct.
There's one more thing which I would like to add. Everyone says that there is a lot of politics, there's a lot of luck and all those things involved. I seriously don't believe. Because see, as a cricketer, you make your own luck. A lot of people have asked, you have been good enough, you should have played for the country. It's just luck. No. I personally feel down somewhere in my heart that no, I was not good enough to play for the country. As simple as that. We cannot leave this to luck. It doesn't happen. You have to create your own luck. If you are really focused and driven, you will create your own luck. So I don't buy that thing. And it's only, see, that lucky part is hardly 1%. Rest 99% of the cricketing world has to go through the grind. So let's keep it very simple.
Very true. Yeah. And people selecting from a college itself, they need to plan. Then preparation in good performance and bad performance you talked about. So it's the same as you, because as a cricketer, it must be the same, because in a good performance, you should do the same as in bad performance also. Because it's only happens when you are believing in yourself, your ability.
Yes, self-belief. That's what I said.
Doubter on your ability also. And hard regime always better for good results.
Yes, definitely. I would like to also add one more thing. This is a tip that I can give to all the cricketers who are present here. And I've always told this. I think Deepak may remember because we played a lot of cricket together. See, for an upcoming cricketer, even I say that he's a college cricketer. Now, I'll ask you one question to all cricketers. How many matches do I play in a year? So, if I am a champion college cricketer and I'm already there in, say, a Trichy district team, now how do I get into the Kerala cricket team? I'm going to only play around, say, 5 district matches. I'm going to play 2 zone matches or 3 zone matches. I will play 3 state camp matches. So if I can perform in 11 games, not even God can stop me from coming into the Kerala cricket team. Great. So I think that is the easiest way, right? But people don't think in that way. People think in a very different way. I have always tried to think it is the easiest to get into a state team. No one can stop. If I start getting 6 or 700s in these 11 matches, I can tell you none of the selectors can stop you. But what we end up doing, we score 100 and then we say that there is politics happening. Whose fault is it? It's my fault. Everyone will remember for 2 days and then they'll just forget it. So there's no point in cribbing and going into that negative mindset. It's as simple. It's very easy. Just break down the maths, simple maths. 12 to 15 games. We should know how to perform and when to perform. That's a very important thing. For a state cricketer, he's going to play how many games? Hardly 6 or 7 games. If you go to Ranji Trophy, you do a good season of 10 games, you're looking at playing for the country. I think no one thinks in those lines. 9 Ranji Trophy good games, if I have a good season, no one can stop me from playing for India.
It's very good point you mentioned about.
Because very easier said than done. But
many of our cricketers might be looking for playing for only the state. And beyond that, they are not dreaming about or they are not working about.
Yes, you need to dream big. Unless and until I dream big, there is no way forward.
There are other points you discuss, imbibing the quality of teamwork. Then physical and mental fitness. Because mental fitness is as important as physical fitness, because we know the happenings in the lockdown periods, what's happening due to the non-fitness of mental health.
Yes.
Throughout India, we are reading
so many sad things.
Yes. Yes. And if you know how to face your failure, you will be a success. That is the great quote of this whole session. And balance of conscious and subconscious mind you talked about. And funnily, don't reveal your competitive secrecy.
No, see, I'll tell you an example. I used to play for Indian Overseas Bank, right? Now that the discussion is more, it's becoming more engrossing. Even we want to wind up, but I think we should share this. me and Ananta Padmanabhan used to represent IOB team in Chennai League. And Sunil Oasis used to be my competitor at India Cements. So we used to know that Sunil had an issue with arm ball at that time. After that, he understood that. So when we come for Ranji Trophy nets, I will never bowl an arm ball to Sunil Oasis in the nets. I will never reveal my weaponry. I'll keep it for my league. Even though we used to tell him that, yeah, this is an issue you need to work, but I will never do that in the nets. I will keep that for the league match. So that's an example. Right from if Ajay Kudwa comes to play, he's a champion player. He's so talented, probably one of the best talented cricketers I've ever come to see. We knew that there is an issue with outswing. We'll never try to expose that during our sessions when we play. Because see, we have to maintain that competitive edge. Even though we are best friends, on the field, we are arch rivals. As simple as that. Srishant always used to say that even if my father comes into bat, I will not give him that leeway. On a funny part, he used to say, but that shows his mindset.
Because I have played a lot of matches along with Srishant. And this is the same way, the same words he used to tell me also. Even if it is my father is on the other end, because this was happened when Sebastian Anthony was batting there, and we were playing for A division, Ernakulam A division league. So Sebastian Anthony is there, and he was aggressively bowling at Sebastian. So I asked, why are you so aggressive? Like bouncers, with Yorkers, etc. Because back to back. So I asked, why are you doing that? He said, I am moving into mixing up with Malayalam. Cheta, enda achana anengilum sheri. Enda opposite vandirikkunna. Njan bouncer oriyum avarude concentration kalayan nokkum. So mainly he is doing that it as to make their concentration or focus out of the game, their shots. And it exactly. Is even in the tennis ball matches, I have seen him do.
I always tell the students, like whenever I'm doing coaching for state teams, if you can bring the intensity that you have in a tennis ball match, if you can replicate that in a cricket ball match, I'm telling you, you will win 9 out of 10 tournaments. Very tough to do, and I don't find many people able to do that. But if you can replicate that 10 overs intensity which you have in a tennis ball match in a cricket match, I'm telling you, you will just have good fun. Same thing for Srishant. See, I don't know whether he's going to play for India again or whether he's going to play for Kerala this year. But you have to understand one thing, that he's ready to go against the world. The whole world or whole of Kerala will come and say, boss, he's 38 years old. What cricket has he got now? What is he going to contribute? That is up to Kerala Cricket Association thing. What is Srishant's fault in that? He is saying, I am ready to play cricket. It's up to you whether you want to take me or don't want to take me. I am not sure whether he himself may not be sure whether he'll be able to perform. But he is ready to take that extra yard. He is ready to put that effort. I respect that. That is the belief which I think the younger kids should learn. Never give up. I think that is the key.
Yes, and not to say as a player itself, but the attitude. There is no other player in India have bounced back many times into the team, that too World Cups.
Yes.
Only for World Cups and winning World Cups.
Yes.
So that is the see that, because when we were practicing together, he used to tell me that I'll play for India. He was just 19-year-old and he used to play only the district matches of under 19. He was just getting into the under 19 because he was yet to play the zonal matches at that time. But he used to say, I want to play. So that's a different angle on the attitude. It is not about the person, but attitude. And last question, we are winding up. There was Uday Menon want to ask one question. Uday, please.
Good morning, sir. Hello, I'm Udaya Menon. I live in Ernakulam. So for my question for you is, as a child, as a 14 or 15-year-old child, what gave you the motivation, or what was the motivation required for you to like work harder and go that extra yard, which allowed you to be in where you are now?
Yeah, hi Uday. Nice question. I'll ask you this question back again. What is the motivation for you? How old are you? How old are you, Uday?
I'm 15.
Yeah, so I think this question is valid for you. Okay, what motivates you to play this game?
what motivates me, and that's what I like. I use.
You're
I
already,
have
you're already playing this game. I'm assuming that you've been playing this game now.
yeah,
For-
I have represented the under 14 Ernakulam district team.
Okay.
But as of late, I don't know. I lack the motivation to play more. So I wanted to, like, because of my studies, I wanted to get that motivation back.
I think I'm going to make it difficult for you. Why? What is that thing which has made you lose that motivation?
Sri, think twice. I think this is Renju sir.
Oh. You're calling me sir. You can call me uncle. Oh God. Okay. Yeah, Uday. Carry on. Just tell me what made you lose this motivation.
I don't know.
You have to know.
Lack of scoring runs in, like, I don't know.
I'll answer. Okay. I don't want to embarrass you. It's okay. I understood your question. See, number one, Uday, why do we play the game? We need to answer that. And I can answer you. I can do anything to play this game. That is my passion. That is my number one criteria. I love this game. I am no one if I am not there with cricket. As simple as that. I don't. Second thing, I should expect zero returns from this game. If I expect something from this game is when everything goes wrong. When I started playing game, it was the competitiveness, it was the enjoyment, it was the passion. Even today when I pick up a bat, these three things have stuck with me. That is being competitive, not to lose. Second is to really enjoy and fight it out, and to be passionate to the core. I have never expected selections. I have never expected money. I have never expected a job or fame from this game. That and all is a byproduct. The foremost thing is to really be mad about the game, to really be competitive at the game, to enjoy the game and be passionate about the game. If you can get this mindset, I'm telling you, Uday, no one can stop you from becoming a good cricketer.
Okay,
I think that is the number one key. The problem starts when we reach one particular level, and then when we are not able to continue at that level, we start questioning ourselves. We start having doubts.
This was the right question, Sri. This was the right question which raised from the under 15. That is junior, and you being a junior coach.
Exactly. If I don't enjoy what I'm doing, I think everything is going to be wrong after that. And the funniest part is his father used to be my very good friend, or rather is my very good friend, and very good Ranji Trophy fast bowler who was actually an extraordinary batsman. Just happy-go-lucky who became a fast bowler who's got debut 6, and next game also he got 6 wickets. You're a very, very lucky kid, Uday. You had a very talented father who represented for Kerala.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I hope I have answered your question. I hope I have answered your question. Is it clear now?
Yes,
If you have doubt, please come up. If you have a doubt, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer that.
Okay. No, I'm clear.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, Raju.
Raju, Satish want to ask one more question and we'll wind up.
Okay.
Hi, Sri bhai.
Yeah, Pradesh, carry on.
श्री भाई, मैं एक क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहता हूँ आपसे कि अभी जूनियर क्रिकेट में जो देखा जाता है कि जब एक लेफ्ट हैंडर बैट्समैन आते हैं तभी एक लेग स्पिनर बॉलिंग अच्छे करते हैं, लेकिन वो तुरंत वो कैप्टन या कोच उसको हटाकर ऑफ स्पिनर को लाके उनका विकेट भी उनको खेलने में बड़े परेशानी में डालते हैं। लेकिन एक जूनियर क्रिकेटर के वो सिलेक्शन कैटेगरी में उसके फर्क पड़ता है ना, तो इसके बारे में आपका राय क्या है भाई?
You want me to answer in Hindi? I don't mind.
No,
जो भी चलेगा, हिंदी मलयालम जो भी चलेगा, इंग्लिश.
I'll speak in Malayalam. I think English corona bore on a lecture അടിച്ച്. See, Pradesh, to be very frank, ഈ ഒരു ലോജിക്കിൽ എനിക്ക് ഒരു താല്പര്യമില്ല. ഇത് നമ്മൾ ജീവിതകാലം മുഴുവൻ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആം സ്പിന്നർ വന്നാൽ ഇവിടെ ബാറ്റിംഗ് ടീം ഒരു ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആം ബാറ്റ്സ്മാനെ പാഡ് ചെയ്യും, റൈറ്റ് ആം ഓഫ് സ്പിന്നർ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു റൈറ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് ബാറ്റ്സ്മാനെ നമ്മൾ പാഡ് ചെയ്യും. ഇത് പ്രതീക്ഷയും ചെയ്ത് കാണും, ഞാനും ചെയ്ത് കാണും, പലപ്പോഴും അടി കൂടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇതിൽ 0% ലോജിക്കാണ്. നല്ല ക്രിക്കറ്റർ ഇത് നല്ല ക്രിക്കറ്ററാണ്. ദാറ്റ്സ് ഇറ്റ്. അവൻ ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആം ആണോ റൈറ്റ് ആം ആണോ അതിനൊന്നും ഇവിടെ ഒരു പ്രസക്തി ഇല്ല. യെസ്, ടെക്നിക്കലി നമ്മൾ വിക്കറ്റിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും മാറ്റങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് സേ ഒരു ഗ്രീൻ ടോപ്പ് വിക്കറ്റ് ആണ്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ടേണിംഗ് സ്ക്വയർ വിക്കറ്റ് ആണ്. അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് പ്രസക്തിയുണ്ട്. സേ ഇമാജിൻ ഞാനിപ്പോ ഔട്ട്സൈഡ് ദ ഓഫ് സ്റ്റംപ് റഫ് വരച്ച് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, അവിടെ ഒരു റൈറ്റ് ആം ഓഫ് സ്പിന്നർ എറിഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി പ്രോബ്ലംസ് കൂടുതൽ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ആവുന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് ഞാനിപ്പോ ഒരു ലെഫ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് ബാറ്റ്സ്മാൻ വന്നപ്പോൾ ഞാനൊരു ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആം സ്പിന്നർ നന്നായി എറിയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ പോലും ഒരു പുതിയ ലെഫ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡർ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അയാൾക്ക് ഞാൻ ഓഫ് സ്പിന്നർ കൊടുന്ന് അയാളുടെ റൗണ്ട് ദ ലെഗ്സ് തിരിച്ച് അയാളെ വേഗം ഔട്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ചേഞ്ച് വരുത്തുന്നതിൽ തെറ്റില്ല. അല്ലാണ്ട് നോർമൽ ഒരു വിക്കറ്റിൽ നോർമൽ സിനാരിയോയിൽ ഇത് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഞാൻ ഇന്നേ വരെ യോജിക്കാത്ത ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. എന്റെ കൂടെ കളിച്ച പലവരും ഇത് യോജിക്കാത്തതാണ്. പക്ഷെ പല പ്രഷറാൽ നമ്മൾ ഇത് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, അത് തെറ്റാണ്, അത് ചെയ്യാൻ പാടില്ല. ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ഒരു ലെഫ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് ബാറ്റ്സ്മാൻ ബാറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ലെഫ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് ബോളർ നന്നായി എറിയുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അയാളെ മാറ്റേണ്ട ആവശ്യമേ ഇല്ല. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Sri.
Yeah.
So Sri, thank you very much for your great session. I hope everybody enjoyed. There were many messages coming onto our screen that a very good session, and we also enjoyed. All of us have enjoyed very knowledgeful session, and going back to many memories also which you have played. Thank you very much. And Edwin sir, especially, he had logged into our session. Deepak and Vipin, Jean from Kottayam, Jean John, and then Pratish. Thank you everybody. Raju, please close with your remarks.
Once again, I would like to thank you people for inviting me. Okay, thank you so much. And see, idea is basically to share knowledge, and I think I've given a little bit of insight. I don't know how many people will benefit from it, but still, thank you so much. Yeah, Raju, please continue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you again.
Please be
next
safe.
session.
Okay.
Yeah.